The men you are about to meet have made, and in most cases still make, a substantial amount of their livelihood from the sport of cockfighting, or competitions with American gamefowl. They are professionals in every sense of the word, and are viewed by aficionados of the sport in the same way Babe Ruth or Hank Aaron are regarded by baseball fans. Often working for rich patrons, these men have competed with gamefowl in virtually every corner of the United States and several foreign countries. The fowl and methods they have developed have had tremendous impact on the sport of cockfighting over the past 50-odd years, and their influence is still felt today in pits across the entire United States. Your interviewer's name is Joe Zanino, himself a well-known cockfighting enthusiast, and will be your moderator for the following discussions. Sit back and travel with our company of professionals through the times of their lives and the sport of ours.
Tonight, that Sweater is probably the best breeder.
Right.
But I tell you, this little man right here, he raced right in there with the top breeders. He's took less chickens and kept them real good. I'm talking about not real good, I'm talking about the best.
Well, I know where to get my brood fowl.
Years, and that
I know where to get my brood fowl next year, then. I'm going to come to you too,
well,
guys.
I tell you, that's right here. He's where I get mine from. So you leave it alone.
You mean I don't have to go any further than that, right?
That's right.
Duke, as we were talking about the Madigan fowl, and you said they were power fowl, I have noticed that there's been a tremendous influence of let's say, hatch-type fowl, either hatch, or McLean hatch, and I don't know why people say Sandy hatch or McLean hatch. I would imagine they're pretty much the same, and blueface.
Blueface were entirely different.
Explain that.
Blueface wasn't pure at all. That was about a three-way cross. Them were, to my knowledge, them were a quarter Murphy and a quarter left nose hatch, and half Madigan gray.
That's what
they were. The cock came from Freddie Quimberly. He bred them down at Lund Gilmore's, and he had that. Now that was the basis of pullets. Then he had a rooster. There was three of them roosters. Lund Gilmore had one. Oscar George had one, and I don't remember who had the other one. But I couldn't never get my hands on one of them. But them were the greatest producers of all times, and that's the ones that that rooster produced the Bluefaces.
What do you feel about the power blends that came in? When did that start happening?
Well, the first chickens I ever saw that they called Madigans, I thought they was the strongest chickens I ever saw, and I don't know if we got in today any stronger than they were.
Well, I noticed again, we have to go back to it, I noticed a lot of people were going hatch clarets, and hatch claret was the rage for many years. Why would they put hatch into claret if they didn't need the power?
Well, to me, it was made it a hybrid, and the hybrid is supposed to really be the best you get when you get a hybrid.
I see.
Cross it.
Okay.
You can't just keep fighting clarets.
Right. When did the power fowl begin to change a lot of the things in the history of cockfighting?
I'd say in the 40s.
In the 40s.
I guess, as far as boys and all in my part of the country, in the low part, I was about the first one to ever fool with any hatch blood. All the hatch blood that we knew of were duckers. They would duck. So
right.
Didn't nobody want to fool with no duckers.
Mm-hmm.
And I infused hatch bloods, and some of the other things, and done good with them. And like in 41, when Curtis and me got the chickens from Ted McLean, and them and better, we done real good with the offsprings.
I see. But prior to that...
well, most of it was roundheads, Hulseys, and stuff, that's different away from the high-class. Well, people from north had all the power chickens, What the south had was speed chickens and the cutters.
Brown lead.
That was the difference. And then when you crossed them and got it done right, you could take and whip both sides with them.
When do you think, Billy, that the power... Well, I know you've always had power fowl, but when do you think that it really began to show its influence on the fowl that had existed previously? I'm talking about the black fowl and the white fowl, the dom fowl, and all the speed fowl? What years do you think that it began to really show the importance to have?
Well, I couldn't give you a definitive answer. I can only say that from my experience, when I started going to Orlando in the early 50s and so forth, the only man that fought any green-legged chickens was Harold, and he fought them in the 1.5-inch 8-cock. And then he fought, they were white and yellow-legged cocks, the number ones, and everybody else in the country just about had white and yellow-legged cocks. Duke had, he was fighting at that time. Now, 20 years previous, when he's referred to the left-nosed chickens, he had chickens in Flato and Perry, and they had some, but the basic chickens that people were fighting were more Madigan type, which would be white or yellow-legged chickens, weren't the green-legged chickens. And I think I would have, I would have to say, in retrospect, that I think that my chickens would have had some influence on. Today you can't go to a pit and half the roosters, maybe not in this knife, although you'll see enough of them, but you go to most of them, you'll see lots of green-legged chickens. And when I started fighting those green-legged chickens, why, in Long Hills, why, they just weren't, everybody else was fighting the other kind, but now everybody's, a lot of them are fighting green-legged chickens. I'm not trying to take credit for anything, I'm just trying to say that they're a lot more prevalent in today's breeding and than they were in the past.
In other words, you would say that been like McLean and Hatch and Murphy had tremendous influence on the modern day fowl?
Well, I think that all the good chickens in the world can probably be traced back to some northern bloodlines in the hands of southern breeders. I think that they're better chickens than they were when the northern people had them, but I know that they've been improved by. It's just a better climate. I think that all in all, that the South has produced better chicken fighters. And I'm from the North, but it's where the big action was. That's where the real where they fought. We're talking long heel chickens now, because practically all of America fights long heels. But I don't think anybody's got any chickens that didn't. You couldn't look back in their background and find that they come from up in New York State or somewhere originally.
Very good. If there was a young man that wanted to ask you about any 1, 2, or 3 things that were most important about conditioning fowl, what would you suggest to him that were the 3, let's say, most important things that you could do to have fowl ready on the day?
I'll tell you the one thing.
Okay.
Feed is the worst thing that you can give a rooster. I just said poison.
Feed.
Feed is the worst thing you can give them.
You're going to have to explain that.
Well, when you get in 2 days of fight, you got to get that out of them. That's all there is to it. Now.
Oh, you mean having feed in their system?
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's nobody. When I say nobody gets them empty. I do more of it than I guess anybody does. And I go in the cock house, say if I'm on fight Sunday, I go in the cock house Saturday morning, look at all of them, and talk around and do what I'm doing, clean up something. I don't touch one of them. Not on Saturday morning. Saturday night, same thing. I don't do nothing to them. Don't give them a drop of water. Don't give them nothing. Stay in there 5, 10 minutes and walk out and see you tomorrow.
That's all day Saturday if you're fighting Sunday?
That's the day before, and the day before that I don't give them much. Give them very little.
Okay.
There's more roosters killed with feed than anything else. That's what I think.
Okay. Well, how about you, Curtis?
Well, I think most people overeat and it hurts them.
Right.
And not only the roosters, but if a young man asks me about training these roosters, I don't think there's all that much to it. All that rooster's got to do is to be in the pink of health, and he's got to be at his proper weight, and he can't be too fat or too thin, and you can't keep him stuffed with feed all the time. And these pills and hocus pocus, they don't get it done, but just the pink of health. And if a young man would get one in the pink of health, he'd bring one in there ready to fight.
And another thing, when you train him, start out slow, but get him dead tired. You know what I mean? When I say dead tired, I mean he's working till after 7, 8 days, 10 days. Man, you open a pen, he can fly up this high. He's tired. Well, then you have to rest him about a week. And I'm talking about when that comes rest and no groceries.
Well, anything has got to have exercise to get in the pink of health. You can't pink of health for anything that don't exercise.
There's been a tremendous transition, and I guess it's because of the fact that, well, some people are getting older and they can't work a rooster as long as they used to, and they're beginning to use scratch pens. Will that ever take complete control, and can you do it all in a scratch pen rather than do it by hand? You think so? Okay. How about you, Curtis?
Well, I believe in the knife you can, but the only way I can ever find out how good a rooster I got is by working.
Okay.
I can find more out about him working him in any way I can find about him.
Do you believe in sparring?
Oh, yes, I believe in sparring, but not all that much. I like to spar. They need sparring.
Okay.
But they don't need all as much as some people spar. Of course, I don't know that it hurts them, but I don't like to do mine like that because you get the feathers beat up, and I won't mind how pretty feathers when I fly.
And I'm the other way. I'll spar. In the course of 15, 16 days, I'll spar 6, 7, 8 times. But I don't break the feathers like you're talking about. I just break them, catch them out of the air, pull them back, put them down, let them. As soon as they fly, catch them. After, don't let them get down at all. Just take them out of the air and bring them back. Just continue to do that. And finally get where they'll be just like Jim Kent's when he turns them loose. Boom,
They're gone.
they're gone.
Well, don't you believe that there are more than one type of aggressiveness that, or do you believe that there are some birds that are naturally aggressive and some birds have to be taught to be that way? Since you are sparring a lot, you can actually teach them to.
Sure.
Okay, there's a natural aggressiveness that's bred in them.
I've got some brothers that is just, they've been awful good. They're winning. But I had one of these brothers, the nicest one of the whole bunch. When I first started, I couldn't even take him to the fights. He was so sore. He wasn't worth for. So then the next keep, I put him up and he got sparred 6, 8 more times. Still went out. Brought him back. Next time, I had me a rooster. It was a good one.
Okay, so what you are saying is actually you can sometimes actually teach.
Sure, you got to teach them.
Mm-hmm.
Mine, if I took mine to the pit without sparring them, they'd whoop me something awful.
Okay, Curtis, how do you feel about that? I really, this is interesting now.
A lot of people, Duke's right, and I think he's right in that knife. I think that's what ought to be done. But I like to see them get down where they got to start hitting hard at one another when you spar.
And Gavs, you got to do that too.
Well, that's what I'm not talking
One
about.
time anyway.
I ain't no knife man, but I like to see mine get down and
See which one will ever hit a weak leg.
Right.
Let him fight it way down.
Right.
I'm talking about way on.
Right. Now that's
where you fight in Gavs.
yeah.
Don't do that.
But I'm not talking about the knife.
There's the old system, of course, is twice a day, morning and night, work morning, work night, feed morning, feed night. Is that still the same today as it was, or
Not with me. Mine's all day.
all day? What do you mean, you work all day?
I'm either moving them. First, I take them out and work them. Run through scratch pins in the cock house. Then they go back and I feed them. As soon as I feed them, then they go over in the yard. They go in pens over on the yard on the grass. After that, they go back. And then after this afternoon, I scratch them all again, go back to the yard, and then come back.
Now,
Okay.
is the same for Gaff as it is for night?
You got to keep moving.
Okay.
You got to
Yeah,
keep
it's always been a full day's job with me to train roosters. There's something to be doing to them all the time, and you got to put them in different places where they make them happy and change them where they can. You want to take him to a place he can take a dust bath, and then you want to take him and get him some green grass and just change him around.
Well, obviously that's what made you fellows top conditioners of today, because you're spending a lot of time with your fowl, and of course the men that have to work during the day and have to just take care of the chickens for a short period of time. It's a terrible difference to them.
I'd say it would be.
Huh.